In today's video, we are going to be reacting to you guys and all of your NBA hot takes. I asked you guys both on Twitter and in my community section for your NBA hot takes. We got about 25, 26 today that we are going to react to. I'm going to give you my thoughts on all of them, and I'm really looking forward to this video today. So this is a video I do typically just a couple times a year. I tend to do one in the off season as well, but we're well into the NBA season now. Mix it up from the rebuilds, why not? I want to say a big thank you to all of you guys that actually did comment both on Twitter and my community tab. I really appreciate it. I always love getting involved with you guys, having you guys give me some of your thoughts, and I can react to them on this platform that we have all created together. So big thank you to you guys once again. And if I did not get to yours, I really do apologize. I will try to get it in the next one, likely next summer. So also just side note, if you commented multiple, I only did one. Some people didn't even get in, so I'm sorry. Let's get into this one. All right, so the first one we have here, I'm just looking at it on my computer. I'll read it right off. You guys will see it at the bottom of your screen. But from Soto, or S. Soto, I'm sorry. The Magic are going to have a deep playoff run with Paolo and Franz. Now, the Orlando Magic are having probably one of the better seasons they've had in recent memory. They do have a very young core with Paolo Banchero, Franz Wagner. You got Cole Anthony there, Jalen Suggs, all those guys, and they're playing really, really well. My thought on a deep potential playoff run in that possibility doesn't necessarily seem like it's realistic. And I only say that because this team really hasn't gone through a playoff run together yet. You know, you get to the playoffs, it's a completely different ball game. Everybody's record is the same at 0-0 when you start off. And I think this core is really good. I think the future is very bright. But if this team's anywhere from, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 seed, maybe they sneak by. But is this team really beating, the Celtics, the Bucks, Heat, Sixers, all those teams in a series in the first round? I don't know about that, but maybe they sneak into the second round. I don't know about that one, but Orlando's done a tremendous job with their rebuild. They have a very exciting future ahead. This one comes from Sean at Strickland. Thank you very much for your hot take. Sean, the Thunder should go all in, moving some of them first-round picks in salary to get Siakam or DeRozan would make them much more playoff ready. Well, I do definitely agree. Either of those players would definitely make them more playoff ready. Maybe would help their chances in the playoffs. I don't know necessarily if Oklahoma City wants to go ahead and cash in some of those chips. They've obviously gone ahead and accumulated just tons of draft picks. They have tons of young players. I don't know if either of those players necessarily fits their team super well. Now, you look at a guy like DeMar DeRozan, definitely aging. He's going to be a free agent after this year. How much would you really be willing to give up of your young core and treasure trove of draft picks to get him from the Chicago Bulls? Then you look at a guy like Pascal Siakam, a little bit better right now. I think still has a couple years left. No, is he a free agent this offseason? I'm not 100% positive about that, but a little bit younger than DeRozan, NBA champion Pascal Siakam. I wouldn't hate that one as much. Only thing is it's going to cost you a little bit more. So I know at some point Oklahoma City is going to pull off a blockbuster trade. Clearly, you don't just continue to save up, young players and draft picks for nothing. But I think for now, for this season specifically, I'd like to see this core kind of go ahead and see what they can do in the playoffs, almost similar to the Magic from the take before this. So Oklahoma City doing a really good job right now with their rebuild. Thunder are near the top of the Western Conference. But again, I don't know if I'd want to get either of those guys. I'd almost wait for a guy like in the tier ahead of them. So that's just my thoughts on it. Ball is Life says D-Book is a top 5 to 7 player in the league currently. Well, I maybe don't agree with that part of it. I do think he is the best shooting guard in all of basketball. Now, let's just go over top 5. This is not in any order. I'm just spitballing here. Let's see. Luka Doncic, Nikola Jokic, Giannis Antetokounmpo, Joel Embiid. It's probably just millions more that I'm missing right now. Am I missing someone big off the top of my head? I don't know. I probably am. Did I get Embiid, Jokic, Giannis, Luka, Steph? He's not better than Steph. So, Devin Booker is playing great, and I do think he's the best shooting guard in the league, as I just mentioned. Top 5 to 7, it might be a little bit much. I think he's about fringe top 10. I put him 10, 11, 12, wherever you want him to be there. But yeah, I still think there's a decent amount of guys ahead of him, but he's definitely playing very well this season. He's definitely the best shooting guard in the world, in my opinion. You guys are really loving the Orlando Magic today in these hot takes. Adrian's saying Franz Wagner will be an all-star. I don't hate it. I mean, the thing you got to look at with the all-star is it almost feels like it's not always about basketball. It feels like sometimes it's really just about the biggest names possible. What's going to get the most eyeballs on the all-star game? Now, Franz Wagner's playing great. I do not want to take away from that whatsoever. Is he at that all-star level yet? Yeah, I don't know quite if he's there, but he's playing really, really well. And if he did make it, it wouldn't surprise me whatsoever. I just don't know if he's actually going to get in because there are, as much as it sucks, and I hate to say it, sometimes the all-star game is literally just about your name. And Franz Wagner's name, maybe not up there with some of the top guys yet, but he is playing very, very well. I'd be happy if he made the all-star game. This next one doesn't seem to be too much of a hot take. This is not a hot take, he agrees with me, but as a Celtics fan, I am also a Celtics fan, I'm sure you know this. What do you think of Neemias Queta? I think he's better than Luke Cornett. Easy, love from Portugal. Thank you very much, Gustavo. Yeah, no, I agree. I'm not a big Luke Cornett fan. I think Queta is much better. He's way more explosive, and I'm sure many of you, if you're Celtics fans, probably agree with that take. But thank you very much for your comment. This is Klay Thompson and Draymond Green's final year in Golden State. The Warriors have been nothing short of almost what feels like a disaster this season. Andrew Wiggins has been moved to the bench. Steph Curry's still playing well. Klay Thompson had a good game the other night, but other than that, he's been struggling significantly. And then clearly when you look at all the shit that's gone on with Draymond Green this year, who's on an indefinite suspension at the time I'm recording this, I don't know what's going to go on in Golden State. You know, I really don't. I don't consider them a contender right now in any way, shape, or form. I think currently they might even be outside the playoff picture looking in. And it just really feels like the age and all the shit is just really kind of catching up with that team. So, you know, I never want to count out Steph Curry, but I really just don't think the pieces around him this year are really going to be super beneficial with all the Draymond's antics. Klay Thompson's in a contract year, declined an extension apparently this offseason. It wouldn't surprise me if this was kind of the end of the road for that core. And maybe this offseason, Klay Thompson moves on to a different team. Maybe Draymond goes ahead and gets a trade somewhere else, preferably somewhere with a good anger management program. But literally anything else. I think if you're going to maximize Steph Curry's maybe final 4 or 5, whatever it may be, years on the Warriors, you got to go ahead and get him some help that's actually going to help. That's just my take on it. Jeremy says the Pacers should do everything they can to get Lauri Markkanen. He would fit perfectly at the 3 or the 4. Just don't give up Mathurin. Lauri with Hallie would make them contenders if they can hold on to him. Now, the Pacers have been having a tremendous start to this season so far. They were in the in-season tournament championship. Didn't end up winning it, but they made it all the way there. And I do really think that this team is going to be an active kind of buyer at the trade deadline. Now, does Lauri Markkanen make the most sense? I don't know. This team is already so good offensively. I don't know if another guy that can maybe put up 20 points a game is something they necessarily need. I would almost maybe look for somebody like a guy like OG Anunoby, maybe a little bit more defensive minded, because I think that would help your team really quite a bit. The offense is there. Halliburton is just absolutely doing his thing. You have really good pieces around him right now. I would maybe lean a little bit more defensive, but Lauri Markkanen would definitely be a good addition to pretty much any single team. And I believe, is he expiring after this year? He might be. But nonetheless, Markkanen would be fun to fit and see kind of how he works out with Halliburton. I just think they should kind of focus more on defense. Next one comes from Mike. He says, if Zion doesn't start taking care of his body the right way, his career will be over before he's 30. Dude, it sucks. You know, I'm not one to look at people and be like, hey man, you got to go ahead and fix your shit. But I know from my personal, perspective anyways, if I had the God-given ability to be good enough to be not only a number 1 overall pick, but make it to the NBA, I'd be doing whatever I could to make sure that that career lasts as long as it possibly can. Zion Williamson coming out of Duke was one of the most hyped prospects we have ever seen, literally ever. He's so good at sometimes, and then sometimes you look at him and you're like, God damn, dude, like, you got to get your shit together. So, I mean, when Zion is, fully healthy and in shape, he is so goddamn good. I really hope he kind of gets his shit together a little bit, because it sucks, because when he's healthy, he's the best player on the Pelicans. And I truly do think that him and Ingram are a really good duo. You just have to have Zion at his best game. And it really just hasn't felt like it's been that way in quite some time. So I hope Zion is not out of the league by 30. When healthy, he's one of my favorite players to watch. Unfortunately, it just hasn't been very well for him recently, so hopefully it gets better. Most of the small market teams got the best young talent nowadays. The NBA needs to do a better job to put them on national TV games. I understand LeBron, Steph, and the other top guys get the boatload of games, but it would be nice if Minnesota, Cleveland, Orlando, OKC, for example, could get more national TV games, expose themselves to casual viewers. I 1,000% agree with this take. 1,000% agree with this. I am so, and I'm not even just saying, I'm not trying to be a hater or anything. How many nationally televised games have the San Antonio Spurs been on this year? It feels like they're on literally 1 to 2 times a week. I don't want to watch it. I'm sorry. It's not a good product. I know Victor Wembanyama is generational. And I'm not just saying this to hate on the Spurs, but they suck. They're not a good basketball team. National televised games, I want the good teams. I don't care if it's not going to draw views. I want to watch the Pacers. I want to watch the Magic. Throw the Timberwolves on there. Throw the Thunder on there. I'm sorry. I don't want to watch a basketball team that's won 3 games this year just because you have some 7'4" Frenchman. I understand he's generational. He's super fun. I don't mean to turn this on the Spurs. It's just what at the top of my head. But yeah, put the small market teams on there. The league's never going to do that because end of the day, the only thing they care about is the dollars going into their pocket. And that's what you get with some of the big market teams and some of the big market names. So it's unfortunate. Probably never going to change, but I really wish it would, and I agree. Mike, you got lucky here. I told everybody I was only going to do one if you commented more than one. I didn't realize it, and I had already screenshotted your second one, so we're just going to go over it. Trading Klay and Chris Paul for bench depth and another solid starter makes them better. I agree. I don't think Klay Thompson and Chris Paul are the answer to this Warriors team. I really don't think they're going to be a significant contribution down the stretch. If you can, make a trade. One of them, both of them, whatever it may be. You're not going to win anything with both these guys on your team. Chris Paul, to me, always felt like an awkward fit on the Warriors. This offseason came over in a deal with the Wizards for Jordan Poole after the Suns sent Chris Paul to the Wizards for Bradley Beal. Now, Chris Paul, 37, 38 years old, maybe thinks this is his last chance of getting a ring. I don't know. For me, I don't think, the corpse of Chris Paul and whatever Klay Thompson has left in the tank is really going to be a significant contributor? Yeah, to Steph Curry and the Warriors. So I would move them. I have no idea what the level of interest is going to be, but if you can get anybody that, one, can maybe shoot the basketball really well, play some defense, I'd probably lean a little bit more that way than keeping a guy like Klay Thompson or Chris Paul. Christopher says, hot take, it's time for Draymond to be banned from the league. I think he's walking a very fine line right now. Obviously on an indefinite suspension right now. I think he has to do like anger management and a couple other things before he can actually be reinstated by the league. I don't know about banned. I think that might be a little much, and I'm assuming it's not a very easy process to fully just ban somebody from the league. Never mind a guy who I think's on, like a 4-year, $100 million contract right now. So that's a little bit challenging, but if Draymond, comes back after 15, 20, whatever amount of games it's going to be from his indefinite suspension, and does something else, he goes and punches somebody else in the face or chokes somebody out or kicks somebody in the balls, whatever it may be, I think that could be the end. I genuinely do. I think the Warriors right now are probably regretting that contract extension they gave him this offseason. I don't really think that Draymond Green is worth that. I do think that they run a lot of their offense through him, and I think Draymond Green does do a lot of things well. Controlling his emotions, unfortunately, is just not one. So I don't know about banned, but I think he is getting very, very close. And one more big incident, I would not be shocked if that actually happened. I got a twofer here. We have a question, or rather a take and then an answer. So Ross says the Indiana Pacers are making the Eastern Conference Finals, and Halliburton is a top 3 point guard. Sean answered him and said maybe top 3 out east, but definitely not top 3 in the NBA. But I respect the Pacers going to the Eastern Conference Finals prediction. Okay, so I will start with the first part of this. First part of this is saying that the Pacers are making the Eastern Conference Finals. Halliburton's a top 3 point guard. I think he's in the top 5. I will say that. He's not better than Luka. He's not better than Steph. So he's immediately not 1 or 2. I can 1,000% say that, and I'm assuming the majority of you guys probably agree with me there. Now, if we're looking at this when fully healthy, hypothetically fully healthy, no suspensions, is he better than Ja Morant? I don't know. He's been playing very well this year. Is he better than Trae Young? I don't know. Is he better than SGA? I don't know. So, I think he is in the top 5 this season. Top 3 feels like a bit of a stretch for me. I would still say Luka and Steph are clearly better than him. I think there's maybe a few other names I'd put ahead right now, but he's playing incredible, incredible basketball. And then in terms of the Eastern Conference Finals, I don't know about that. I have the Pacers in the playoffs. In my preseason predictions, I had them, I think, 6 or 7 seed, something like that. Eastern Conference Finals feels like a bit of a stretch there. I don't want to discredit them whatsoever because they are playing very, very good basketball. But again, I know I talked about this maybe with the Orlando Magic and the Thunder. It's a completely different kind of vibe situation when you're actually in the playoffs. And now the Pacers don't have a ton of playoff experience together, that group that they have right now. They have a lot of young players on that team. There's just not a lot of experience right there. So, they make the second round. That wouldn't surprise me. I don't know if they're going to make because if they're making the Eastern Conference Finals, hypothetically, they're probably matching up with one of the following. My gut, if I had to guess. They're matching up with either the Celtics, the Bucks, 76ers maybe, Miami Heat, maybe a couple other teams you want to throw in there. I really don't know if the Pacers are going to outlast any of those 4 teams. I just don't know. So, crazy Cinderella runs do happen. They definitely do. I just don't know if this Pacers team is one to actually have that happen to them. Nate says the Celtics and Timberwolves will meet in the NBA Finals this year. Let's go over this take. We'll kind of go team by team. So the Eastern Conference, I think there's 2 just absolute powerhouses, and I think everybody else is a tier at least below them. The Celtics and the Bucks are the 2 top teams in the East. I don't really think anybody questions that. If you had to make a prediction right now of who's going to meet up in the NBA Finals, I think you'd find a hard time finding somebody who says it's not one of either the Celtics or the Bucks coming from the East. That's my take there. Celtics probably fine. Timberwolves, on the other hand, they've been playing really good this year. Anthony Edwards has been emerging as a superstar. Is this a team that's going to make it all the way to the finals, though? I don't know. I could see them making a long playoff run. They made the conference finals. Would not surprise me whatsoever. But is this team really going to beat, Nikola Jokic and the Denver Nuggets? Are they going to beat LeBron and the Lakers? I'm still putting them in there, whether you want to hate LeBron and the Lakers or not. They're in the Western Conference Finals last year. You absolutely have to respect them. There's the Suns are in there as well. Are they going to outlast these teams in a 7-game series? And I just don't know. But I am very happy. Rudy Gobert and Karl-Anthony Towns have kind of figured out how to play together. Naz Reid is just fucking incredible. But Timberwolves' future is very, very bright. If they made the finals, it wouldn't completely shock me, but I still probably would lean a few teams over them. Azar Thompson can win an MVP in the future. That might be our hottest take yet. Now, I don't want to discredit anybody whatsoever. I never want to count out a young kid who's in his rookie year from saying he can't do, anything he dreams of, if you will. I don't know if Azar Thompson is like MVP level, because you got to remember, a lot of the guys that are, in the league right now that are playing at an MVP level aren't necessarily crazy old. Luka Doncic is not like some 32-year-old that's just going to be out of the league in 5 years and call it a career. Luka's going to be here for the next 10, 12 years. So he's always going to be playing at an MVP level. I think Victor Wembanyama will be there one day. Maybe you have Jason Tatum there one day. I don't know. Just my Celtics bias. I don't know if Thompson's ever going to get to that MVP level, but he's had a really good rookie season so far on a very, very bad team. So we'll see one day, man. But yeah, thank you for the hot take. It's probably the hottest one we've had so far. This one comes from Rocky Zips. He says, my hot take, but I think they need to revert the changes they made to the draft lottery projections. There's no reason why the absolute worst team in the NBA should be getting the 5th pick in the draft. Make it make sense. And then he follows up by saying, I get they did it to keep teams competitive throughout the season, but it's kind of hard to do when you're a small market team and can't hit on big free agents in the offseason. Well, I'll start with this. My gut reaction to that is that you are a Pistons fan, because the Pistons got anonomically screwed in the draft lottery last year. So if you are, I'm sorry. If you aren't, my bad. For me, the draft, it's a weird, because clearly however many years ago they changed it so the bottom 3 or top 3, whatever you want to call them, teams all have the same exact odds of getting the number 1 overall pick. I think prior to that it was like 25% for the worst team in the league. Maybe it's like 17, whatever it was. Now the bottom 3 teams all have the same percentage chance of getting that number 1 overall pick. So I agree in that aspect. I wouldn't want them to do it in a system like the NFL does, where if you're just the worst team in the league, you have the number 1 overall pick. No ifs, ands, or buts. I do think it kind of sucks in the aspect of, if you do something like that, teams are just going to be tanking. They are. They're going to be flat out bottom tanking because they want the highest chance of getting the number 1 overall pick. And while maybe that doesn't matter as much, because if you look at teams this year like the Spurs, like the Pistons, like the Wizards, they all fucking suck, and they're probably going to be the 3 teams with those same odds at the number 1 overall selection. So I get it, but I also understand where the league is coming from of wanting to be at least a little bit competitive. And I really do think that, the 3 teams I just listed do have a lot of young players. I think at the end of the day, the young players really do want to win. I don't think they give a shit about a draft pick. I just think that they maybe don't have the capability to win right now. So I know we're kind of straying away from the question there a little bit, but for me, I don't necessarily think reverting back to the old way to do it. I think there's maybe a third solution that nobody's thought of yet, but I don't know. I think I'd rather keep it the way it is now than go back to the old way. LeBron James is still one of the best 3 players in the league. I take it you are a LeBron fan looking at your profile picture, Mike. I'm never going to sit here and tell people how to grade, your top 3, 5, 10, whatever you want it to be. I don't have LeBron in my top 3 right now. My top 3 not in any order, just putting a disclaimer on that. In my top 3 from this season so far, I have Nikola Jokic, I have Joel Embiid, and I have Luka Doncic. I don't think anybody is playing better basketball than those 3 right now. I really don't. I'm sorry. I do not think that it's possible. So, you probably maybe have Embiid 4 there, but, outside of Giannis, Luka, and Jokic, I don't really think it's very close for that top kind of 3-4 area. So LeBron, still top 10 in my opinion. I just don't know if he's quite there in the top 3, but definitely a hot take. And when he's on, he is one of the best players in the world. Joel Embiid is a top 2 center in the league, but like Prime Harden, foul baits too much that it detracts. That's what he said, detracts from the game. Think Embiid could be the best 2-way player in the league if he stopped moaning for fouls every game. I think that might be like our coldest hot take so far. I think the majority of people probably agree with that. I'm not meaning to shit on you or anything, but I think a lot of people probably say Joel Embiid is either the best or the number 2 overall center in the league. Nobody really questions that. And then in terms of foul baiting and all that shit, he's always going to do that. It's just how he plays. We all know it. I think a part of that, that's just his game. And, as unfortunate it is, I think there's also a big part of the reason why the Sixers never really seem to go very far in the playoffs. I'm not trying to shit on the Sixers right now, but, when it comes playoff time, they don't call the ticky-tack fouls. And Joel Embiid taking a nosedive because he gets a push-off from a point guard is not really going to cut it. So, for me, I wish he would stop, but there's also just tons of other players that do that same shit. It's just part of basketball right now. So, as unfortunate as it is, I don't think he'll ever stop. I do think he's a top 2 center 100%. And yeah, it frustrates me. So I do want to see the Sixers make a little bit of a run this year. Not further than my Celtics, but I would like to see Embiid get out of the second round. Hot take, Lakers winning it all if they trade for OG Anunoby. I think I mentioned OG Anunoby for what, the Pacers on my other team that I was just thinking about for him. Yeah, I have no idea what's going on in Toronto. I really don't. I mean, you have Siakam, you have Barnes, and you have Anunoby. It's like their big three right now. It's not winning anything. I think they should trade one of Siakam or Anunoby, if not both, and just commit to a little bit of a rebuild. For me, when I look at the Lakers roster right now, I'm trying to find where OG Anunoby fits and what you're giving up for him. Because assumingly you make that deal, Masai Ujiri is not just giving up OG Anunoby for nothing. I mean, we've all learned that these are very highly touted players that a lot of teams in the league want. Masai Ujiri knows that. So if the Lakers are able to pull that off, I have no idea what the package is going to be for that. I'm assuming D'Lo has to be in there, maybe Hachimura, maybe even Reeves if they really ask it. And then I don't know how many picks you're going to have to give up, but it's probably not going to be one. Maybe it's two, but all likelihood it might be three if they really ask for that. So I think Anunoby instantly makes, probably 98% of teams better. I really do. I think he fits seamlessly with a lot of different teams and what their kind of culture stands for right now. Obviously, hard-nosed defender, wing shooter. I don't know. I think he would definitely help out a lot of teams, and that would definitely include the Lakers. I just don't know if anybody's going to be willing to give up what the Raptors actually want in return for him. Hot take, the New York Knicks go all in and trade a bunch of picks and a few young pieces for Zach LaVine. I am not a Zach LaVine hater. I do not want to come off by that in any way, shape, or form. Zach LaVine is not the final piece of the puzzle in New York. He's 1,000% not. I have no idea what the Bulls are going to actually ask for him. I know he has a big fat contract for many years after this. For me, if I'm New York right now, I know you've been waiting years to get a star. I mean, you look back to, 2019, with everybody thought there was going to be Kevin Durant, Kyrie Irving, and Zion in New York. Clearly, you went 0 for 3 in that category. Jalen Brunson playing incredible basketball right now. Julius Randle's really turned it around after a slow start. Zach LaVine is not that final third piece, I don't think. I think RJ Barrett would have to be in any sort of deal just to make the money work. I don't think that gets you over the hump. Because even with Zach LaVine, are you beating the Celtics? Are you beating the Bucks? Are you beating the Heat or Sixers? I don't know. I really don't. So, I'm not trying to discredit Zach, but on top of the fact that I don't know if it puts you over that hump and puts you into the top tier in the East, you're also going to have to give something up. So, I would stay away from Zach LaVine for the majority of teams. I'm sure there's a fit somewhere for some group, but there's also a reason you haven't seen more and more teams expressing interest in Zach LaVine, because of the contract and because teams don't know if he really takes into that final step. Harrison says Jimmy Butler needs to get traded or request a trade from the Heat where he doesn't have to be the number one guy, as he won't win a championship if he stays in Miami. I'm not going to discredit Jimmy Butler in the Miami Heat. What that team with him, leading them has done over the past 3-4 seasons has been nothing short of incredible. They've beaten teams with better players than them, better rosters. They clearly have the best head coach probably in all basketball. I'll suppose probably top 2. That's where I'm going to put him right now. For me, if Jimmy Butler wants out, and at this point of his career, I don't think he probably does. I think he probably enjoys living down in Miami. I mean, who the hell wouldn't? On top of the fact that I'm assuming he still wants to be a number one guy. I have no idea where he would go. I mean, you look at all the contending teams right now. There's not really room for a number one guy. So, Jimmy, I will tell you from my Celtics fandom, is a pain in the ass to play against in the playoffs. It sucks that him and the Heat haven't gotten over that hump, because I truly do want to see him. Like, the basketball fan in me wants to see Jimmy get a ring before he retires. He's not getting any younger. He's on the back nine of his career in all likelihood. I really hope he does get one at some point. Not before my Celtics, but at some point I'd like to see him get one. But yeah, I don't know if at this point he's going to be requesting a trade. I just don't see a destination for me that makes a lot of sense for him right now if he really wants to get that championship. So, all credit to Jimmy Butler and everything he's done at this point, though. I just don't know if he's going to get that championship, which does suck. The Warriors will not make the playoffs. Straight out, that's all he said. If I don't want to ever just say, because I know how good Steph Curry is, and I know that, when you have a team like that, a lot of veterans, typically at some point in time, they do figure it out. This year feels almost a little different. You have Klay Thompson not playing his best basketball. You have Draymond Green punching people in the face. Chris Paul is just old as fuck. And Andrew Wiggins isn't playing good. I mean, I don't know. I don't think this is that crazy to say. Warriors wouldn't surprise me if they were a playing team, a 8-9 seed, something like that. But I don't see them as like a true contender in the West anymore. I just don't. So, I'm not going to count them out 100%. But, if I had to lean one way or the other, is this team a 1 through an 8 seed come playoff time? My gut reaction right now would say no. It's a very good Western Conference. So it sucks. I hope this is not the end of the road for that Warriors big three. But, kind of the fake GM mind in my head says it probably should be. So tricky situation. Luka is overrated because he doesn't/can't play defense. A lot of people say this, and just from what I see on the cesspool that is NBA Twitter, You know, when I see people shitting on Luka Doncic, first of all, he puts up video game numbers, like, on offensively. You know, he finishes every game with, like, 36 points, 10 rebounds, and 12 assists. Like, it's fucking insane, the numbers that this dude puts up. It's mind-boggling. Now, I know he has high usage, and they're running the offense through him, all that fun stuff. I fully understand that. The defensive argument for Luka Doncic, I think, is losing a little bit more traction as the years go on. I'm not going to sit here and say Luka Doncic is top of the top defensive players, but what Luka does on defense is a little bit, I don't want to say it's underrated, but I think people are kind of blowing out of the water how bad he is on defense. You know, he's not sitting here, you know, he's not up with the Carusos and the Anunobis and the Drew Holidays of the world. He's not there, but he's definitely going ahead and he's improving that side. So, you know, when he came into this league, he was definitely not any sort of defensive weapon by any way, shape, or form. And he's still not any sort of weapon, but he's definitely improving that side of it. I'm not going to sit here and call Luka Doncic overrated. I think he's a top 3 player in the world this season. So, all good, man. I disagree with you, but it's definitely a hot take. This one comes from Cole on Twitter, and he's kind of going the other side of the Timberwolves argument, because I'm the one that said that the Celtics and the T-Wolves would meet up in the finals. He says, I like Anthony Edwards, but the Timberwolves are not legit contenders. The Warriors are still legit, but really need a big. The Pacers absolutely won the trade with the Kings. Halliburton is an MVP-level player, and I know you're going to like this, but JB was not worth his contract. Okay, that is a lot to unpack. I will try to keep this short and sweet, because there's like 4 or 5 different points there. Anthony Edwards and the Timberwolves not legit contenders. I do not consider them up there with the Denver Nuggets right now. I don't. I think if you look at the West, I think the Nuggets are in a tier of their own, even maybe if they're not playing the best basketball. I know Jamal Murray was hurt, but I do not think that anybody is up there with the Nuggets. So I will say that. I still think that the Timberwolves are a top 4 team in the West this season. I do not think that they are, you know, a serious threat. Not yet. Maybe at some point. I don't know. The Warriors are still legit, but need to really need a big. You know, I just don't know who you're going to get. You know, that's tricky. So, you know, part of you wants to say, you know, if you go out and trade for some big that's maybe on a team that sucks this year, whatever it may be, that could really affect the game, maybe that helps you. Maybe that gives you kind of one last run with that big kind of group that you've had for so many years now. It's won so many different championships. The other part of you just says, just let it go. Just give it up. I mean, is this Warriors team, no matter what big you go out and get realistically, obviously, are you really winning anything? I don't know. So, you know, kind of got to pick a side on which way you're going to go at some point, and I really do think that the Warriors will do that. Hopefully sooner than later. The Pacers absolutely won the trade with the Kings. Halliburton, MVP level player. Yeah, you know, I see a lot of people saying that, and everybody's going to, you know, Tyrese Halliburton goes off for 28 points, 15 assists, and 7 rebounds. Everybody's just going to say that the Pacers won the deal. Nobody really has a problem saying that it was like an even trade. And I do think it was an even trade. I really do. Because Sabonis and Turner didn't fit very well together in Indiana. And I don't really think that Fox and Halliburton was going to work out long term. So I think it was probably the best of both worlds. I think in terms of an actual trade, that's probably as fair as you're going to get. Because you look at the history, a lot of these big trades, there's always like a guaranteed loser. And maybe that you think the Kings are a little bit more of a loser than the Pacers are from that deal. I would clearly still take Tyrese Halliburton over Sabonis just from better player. But for me, I really think that's about as even as a deal you're going to get. Both teams had needs that the other one had. So good job by them. And then, last part of this. I know you're not going to like this, but JB was not worth his contract. Yeah, no, I don't think well, I don't want to say nobody. What do you get? $304 million, whatever the hell it was. Fucking ridiculous money. No. Jaylen Brown is not worth $300 million. I love Jaylen Brown. I'm a Celtics fan. I absolutely love Jaylen Brown. No, he's not worth $300 million. Absolutely not. I think there's maybe 6, 7 players in the world that are worth $300 million. And I know that the cap's going to go up with the new TV deals and all that shit. And, you know, 60 million AAV is not going to be what it is now in 5 years. It's just not. But, you know, for me, you had to give it to him, right? It's a catch-22. You don't give it to him, he's going to go explore his other options. Give it to him, he's happy. I mean, it's what happens. He made All-NBA second team last year. He's eligible for the Supermax. It sucks, but I'm almost happy that we have him, paying him the 60 AAV, whatever the hell it is, versus just letting him go. Because he is a very important player to the Celtics. Whether you want to shit on the guy because he can't dribble left or whatever, which he's been much better this year, by the way. But yeah, for me, no, he's not worth $300 million, but you had to give it to him. It's a catch-22. So yeah, thank you, Cole. Tony on the boat. The in-season tournament is stupid because the Celtics lost, and it's another Mickey Mouse ring for LeBron to add to his collection. Oh boy, I'm surprised that Lakers fans didn't find you and jump down your throat for that. Yeah, you know, I'm not gonna sell it as a Mickey Mouse kind of thing. You know, I hate when people do that shit. You know, for me, clearly the in-season tournament is very different from, you know, the NBA Finals. It's night and day. They're not the same fucking thing at all. Everybody knows that. But I'm not going to discredit the Lakers winning it because I can't sit here and tell you that if my Celtics won it, I wouldn't have been happy about it. I would have, clearly. So I don't like that argument in that sense. And then when I'm not going to get into the bubble right now, but it's almost that same thing for me. And I know people are going to disagree with this because there's no fans, no home court advantage, all that shit. But looking back to the bubble, it's the same thing. Do you think if if the Heat beat the Lakers in the bubble, that Heat fans would be like, nope, doesn't count still? And I know a lot of them still say it. There's fans of every team saying, it's another Mickey Mouse ring. I don't agree with that. Clearly, it was very different. Back in 2020, we were very much happy that there was some sort of basketball. We didn't have to sit with nothing. They came up with a solution. It worked. I'm happy that we had basketball then. I'm happy about the in-season tournament. I still fucking hate the courts, but I'm not going to sit here and tell you it's a Mickey Mouse championship. I think it's a little weird that they're hanging a banner. I think it would, they have 17 of them hanging up there. I think it's a little weird, but maybe it's something the league wants. But no, I'm not going to count it as Mickey Mouse when I can't sit here and tell you I wouldn't have been happy if my Celtics won it. A lot of Lakers talk here. The Lakers are a real contender when healthy. No, I agree. That team was in the West Finals last year. They made a couple changes. Obviously, Schroeder departed for Toronto. They went ahead and brought in, Taurean Prince wasn't here last year, was he? I don't think so. Jackson Hayes now here as well. No, LeBron and Anthony Davis, if they're fully healthy, they're still contending, and I still think they're probably beating the majority of teams in the West. I really do. We look at it last year, they beat the Grizzlies round one. They beat the Warriors, right? Warriors round two. And then that sweep was a little bit overrated because they did get swept by the Denver Nuggets in the Western Conference Finals, but it wasn't like every game was a blowout. It felt like most of those games were close. That should just be like selective memory I'm having right now. But yeah, the core of this team is still here. They got Austin Reeves back on a really good contract this offseason. I know he was playing off the bench for a little bit. Correct me if I'm wrong, but I think he's still playing off the bench relatively. But yeah, no, Lakers are 100% a contender if they're healthy. But if either LeBron or Anthony Davis has any sort of lingering injury, I think that goes right out the window. So, I hope it doesn't happen because the Lakers are a lot of fun to watch. But yes, they're a contender, fully healthy. And our final take here is another one with the Minnesota Timberwolves. Hopefully I can make it in the video, but my hot take is the Timberwolves are for real and can make the Western Conference Finals. They're having an amazing season on both ends, well coached. I'm surprised at their start right now. Yeah, I was a little surprised as well. I think we all saw this summer, Anthony Edwards playing and, his kind of next step that he had taken. We all fully expected him to almost reach that maybe superstar level status this season, and the Timberwolves have been playing well. I'm not going to beat a dead horse because we've been talking about the Timberwolves for what feels like 6 minutes of this video, but no, they're having a very good start. I still think there may be like a piece or two away and maybe another year or two of development for Edwards, but Western Conference Finals would not surprise me. Finals would surprise me a little bit, but I wouldn't be crazy blown out of the water. Like, if the Minnesota Timberwolves were in the finals, that would surprise me less than, say, a team like the Oklahoma City Thunder. So I want to be clear. I think the Timberwolves are good. I don't know if they're truly top-tier contenders yet, but they are very good this season. And I will be very, very surprised to see, or not very surprised, I'm very much looking forward to see what ends up happening with them. All right, man, and that is it. That wraps up NBA Hot Takes. This video was supposed to come out yesterday on Friday. You're seeing it today on Saturday. My apologies. I did not have time to record yesterday, and I did today. So, yeah, that is it. I want to say once again a big thank you to all of you for commenting your NBA Hot Takes. Weirdly enough, didn't feel like very many of them were very hot. So, next time, let's get a little bit spicier, gentlemen. That sounds fucking weird. A little bit hotter takes, okay? I appreciate it, though. I really do. It's always fun, kind of doing videos where you guys can talk to me a little bit, even though it's on a screen, but you understand what I'm saying. So, big thank you. If you guys want me to do other kind of non-rebuild basketball content, I'd be happy to do so. Let me know what you were thinking down below in the comment section. So, that is it for me. As always, thanks so much for watching. I love you guys. I'll catch you guys all in the next one.